earlier today, I met with His Honor, the Lieutenant Governor, to advise that the House should be dissolved and a general election held. The election will be on Tuesday, October 8th.
Well, Sun News means politics. You know we cover the heck out of any election. If it moves, if there's a vote, we'll be there. And in fact, let's get an update on that Nova Scotia election by going to Halifax, Dartmouth right now for our Sun News reporter, Paige McPherson. Hey, Paige, great to see you again. That's your hometown. You're covering this election. Give our viewers, especially in the rest of the country, a bit of a primer. Who are the candidates? Who are the parties? What are the stakes? And how's it looking so far?
Well, Ezra, we're really working with a three-party system here in Nova Scotia. While there are fringe parties such as the Greens and the Atlantica Party, what we're really dealing with are the PCs and leader Jamie Bailey, the Liberals and leader Stephen McNeil, and the NDP and leader and current Premier Darrell Dexter. And all of the parties are relatively moderate. They really do tend to hug the centre in this province. Right now, it's looking as though the Liberals are in the lead, but the real main issue, I suppose, would be the economy in this election. Of course, we know that there's a major problem in Nova Scotia and really across the Maritimes of especially young people moving out west to work because there just aren't the jobs here, and that really is consuming this election. You know what, I've been fascinated by the neighboring province of New Brunswick lately. They've really cast their lot in with the energy sector, not just the Energy East pipeline that would bring oil sands to St. John, but also fracking for shale gas. Now, I understand that in Nova Scotia, they have a moratorium on fracking. How does that square with what you've just said, that all the parties are focused on economics and getting jobs and getting young folks to stay home? How do they square that with a moratorium on the hottest jobs in North America? Well, Ezra, actually all of the three parties do have a supportive stance for the fracking moratorium. They all essentially have exactly the same stance, that they are supporting the moratorium until more research is done on the topic. There's currently an independent review being done in the province by the president of Cape Breton University. He actually has quite the environmental background, so we'll see how impartial, I guess, that review comes out when it does. But they've all essentially said that they are okay with no fracking until this review is complete. But you're absolutely right, that would bring a lot of jobs to the province. There are lots of untapped potentials literally here across the province, and all of the parties currently against it. I find that heartbreaking. I guess young people will just move over to New Brunswick for their jobs. Now let me ask you, we've seen in other elections recently, I think particularly of the May election in British Columbia, that Justin Trudeau of the Liberals has not weighed in. I guess he didn't really like the BC Liberals that much. They're too right-wing for him. Has Justin Trudeau, the federal Liberal leader, weighed in? Has Thomas Mulcair, the federal New Democrat, weighed in? What is the role of the federal parties being in this provincial fight? Well, certainly we're seeing federal support from the NDP because, of course, that's a federally streamlined party. Federally to provincially, it's all the same. When it comes to the Liberal Party, of course, they're different, but we have seen a strong presence of Justin Trudeau in this election. Really, we're seeing Liberal leader Stephen McNeil tie in the federal angle really strongly in this election. First of all, one of the first ads that the Liberal Party released, Justin Trudeau had a little cameo there, and indeed, Justin Trudeau is actually expected to be coming to the province just at the end of this coming weekend on Monday as well. Going to be touring with the Liberals, so he is here loud and clear, certainly for the election. And really, I mean, that's sort of it speaks to the fact that I guess the Liberal Party federally, and especially Trudeau, is very popular here. Atlantic Canada, especially in the Maritimes and especially in Nova Scotia, really is a part of the Liberal base, which of course we know is dwindling in many other parts across the province, but it stands strong here in Atlantic Canada. So we definitely are seeing that Justin Trudeau presence here. We didn't see it in BC because, of course, they are sort of that free market coalition, maybe a little free market, too free market for Justin Trudeau out in BC. But here in Nova Scotia, where we're seeing the Liberal Party really hugging the centre, really a very, very status quo platform, not having any bold policies whatsoever, really maintaining the tax environment. Really, we haven't seen any tax cuts at all. So they are cool with the Justin Trudeau thing. He's cool with them, and so he's coming down and certainly making his presence known and his support for this party known. Now, let me ask you this. As our colleague David Aiken points out, in the last half dozen or so provincial elections, and heck, even the last federal election,
The status quo seems to be the Canadian way. Stick with the devil you know, especially in these moderately economic uncertain times. So even in BC and Alberta, where the early polls showed that both those parties would be thrown out, they managed to hang on. Even in Quebec, where the Parti Québécois unseated Jean Charest, it was only by about a percentage point. Do you think that incumbency, that inertia of the status quo will be enough to keep the NDP in power? I saw some poll numbers there on the screen a minute ago showing the NDP was back. Do people, I mean, is it over yet out there? If the NDP is back 20 points, do they have a shot of still holding on, or is it going to be a Liberal province?
It's a very unique scenario right now because, of course, we know from those poll numbers that just came out that the Liberals have moved from their position of a 10-point lead to a 20-point lead. They're 20 points ahead of the NDP. The NDP and the PC is kind of fighting for second place there. But, of course, as you mentioned and David Akin pointed out, incumbent governments have won for a very long time, almost every single time here in Nova Scotia, and they don't tend to win a majority. They actually tend to win a minority government for the second time around, but certainly the NDP can take solace in that fact that history's on their side. But the interesting thing and what makes this a unique case is that this is actually the first NDP government in this province. They did win a sweeping majority last time around back in 2009, but it was really a trendy orange wave, if you want to call it that. So even when we did speak with PC leader Jamie Bailey today, he was not discouraged by the polls that showed the NDP were down. He was just happy that the NDP was down. Maybe they'll go back to the two-party system that once existed in this province.
Paige, great to talk with you. You keep up the reporting on the ground there. We'll talk again soon.